Okay, when you think about the most exciting, innovative companies in the world, I'm willing to bet Toyota isn't the first name that pops into your head. They're reliable, sure, but maybe a little dull? Well, what if I told you that for the last 50 years, this so-called boring company has been holding on to a secret for sustained success? A secret its biggest rivals have tried and failed to steal over and over again.
Yeah, that's the label you hear all the time. Toyota is boring. And you know what? You can kind of see why people say that. They're not exactly known for radical, jaw-dropping designs or making these huge, risky bets that shake up the market. They're just steady, consistent. Yeah, you could definitely call it boring. But here's where the plot thickens. This boring company absolutely dominates where it matters most to you and me. I mean, year after year, models like the Corolla and the Camry are just camped out at the top of the reliability and quality charts, while their competitors are just trying to keep up. This isn't some lucky streak. It's a pattern. It's totally by design.
So that brings us to the big question, right? How in the world do they do it? What's the secret sauce that keeps this seemingly ordinary company so consistently extraordinary?
Well, the answer isn't some flashy new piece of tech or a clever business hack you can read about online. It's really not something you can just buy or copy and paste into your own company. Toyota's secret is something way deeper. It's a powerful, interconnected way of thinking that touches literally everything they do.
For decades, corporate giants have tried to clone Toyota's legendary production system, but they almost always miss the point. See, they copy the tools, but they're completely blind to the culture that makes those tools work. The real secret isn't a tool at all. It's a system built on 3 pillars you just can't separate: a long-term philosophy, a relentless process for improvement, and a deep, genuine respect for people.
All right, let's start with the foundation of it all, the philosophy. At its core, the Toyota way is about playing the long game. It's about making decisions that are good for the company decades from now, not just what looks good on the next quarterly report. It means they invest in their people and their partners for the long haul, because they know the real payoff is stability and trust, not just a quick win.
And this isn't just some feel-good slogan they hang on a poster in the break room. No, this is a living, breathing principle. It means that every single person, from the CEO all the way down to the newest hire on the assembly line, feels a real sense of ownership. They're empowered to tackle problems for the good of the company's future.
And this one story perfectly captures where that culture came from. So, picture this. It's right after World War II, and Toyota is on the brink of going bankrupt. Instead of blaming the economy or his workers, the company president, Kichiro Toyoda, did something unthinkable. He resigned. He took full personal responsibility. That one powerful act created a culture of accountability that is literally the backbone of the company to this day.
So, that philosophy is what fuels the second pillar, the process. This is where the world-famous Toyota Production System, or TPS, comes in. But here's the key. Don't think of it as just another efficiency program. It's actually a brilliant system designed to do one thing really well: make problems visible so they're absolutely impossible to ignore. People often draw the TPS like a house, and for a really good reason. Every single part is essential. If you take one piece away, the whole thing gets shaky. The foundation is all about stable, level production. Holding up the roof, you've got 2 main pillars: just in time, which means making only what you need, right when you need it, and jidoka, which you can think of as automation with a human touch. And right there in the middle, at the very heart of it all, the people.
And that jidoka pillar is honestly revolutionary. In any Toyota factory, any worker can pull what's called the andon cord and bring the entire production line to a screeching halt if they spot a problem. I mean, just think about how radical that is. In most places, stopping the line gets you fired. At Toyota, it's part of your job. It gives every single person both the power and the responsibility to ensure quality.
And all of this naturally leads us to the third, and you could argue, the most important pillar, the people. Because honestly, the philosophy and the process are just ideas on paper, without a culture that actually invests in its employees and truly respects its partners.
A huge principle here is something called genchi genbutsu. Roughly, it translates to go and see for yourself. The idea is so simple, but it's incredibly profound. Basically, you can't solve a real-world problem by sitting behind a desk, and you can't understand your customer by looking at a spreadsheet. You have to get up, go to the source, and see things with your own 2 eyes.
And check out this perfect example of that principle in action. When it was time to redesign the Sienna minivan for the North American market, the chief engineer didn't just look at market data. No, he got in a car and drove 50,000 miles all across the US, Canada, and Mexico. He'd hang out in Home Depot parking lots, just watching families. And he discovered an insight that no focus group would have ever told him. People desperately needed to be able to fit a 4x8-foot sheet of plywood in their minivan. That one little observation, born from going and seeing, led to a complete, game-changing redesign.
So there you have it, our 3 pillars: philosophy, process, and people. And this brings us to the most critical point of this entire explainer, the part that everyone gets wrong. You cannot separate these things. This is not a buffet where you can pick and choose the ideas you like. It is one single, interconnected system.
And now for a little cautionary tale. Back in the late 90s, Ford got obsessed with copying Toyota's incredibly efficient just-in-time logistics. They poured a ton of money and resources into this really ambitious plan to achieve it, and they codenamed it Project Nirvana.
But just look at the night and day difference in their approaches. On one hand, you have Toyota, who had spent more than a decade carefully building a deep partnership with their logistics provider, treating them like family. And then you have Ford. What did they do? They hired an outside firm and gave them a simple, brutal order: take no prisoners and slash costs no matter what. It was purely a transaction.
So what was the result of Ford's Project Nirvana? An absolute, total disaster. The project ended up adding more than $100 million a year to Ford's costs. And so why did it fail so spectacularly? Because they copied the process, the just-in-time deliveries, but they completely ignored the philosophy of partnership and the culture of respect that actually made it work for Toyota.
And that's really the whole ball game. The famous tools of the Toyota production system, on their own, are basically worthless. They only create real, lasting value when they are built on a solid foundation of a long-term philosophy and a culture that empowers its people. You try to just grab one of those pillars, and the whole house comes crashing down.
So that leaves us with one last big question to think about. In our own work, in our own organizations, it's so easy to spend all day just putting out fires. But the real lesson from Toyota is to step back and ask a tougher question. Are we just getting good at fixing today's problems? Or are we actually building a system that stops those fires from ever starting in the first place?